On today's episode, we're answering the question, no, we're not, because I'm on the wrong damn outline.
This is where our framework comes in. So I think it'd be a good time to actually run through sort of what I call the 7 Ps. And let's start with the context of what a case study is, because we kind of covered it, but I'd like to explicitly call out why it's such a powerful marketing and sales asset for your business. So I'm sure you're both familiar with Donald Miller of StoryBrand, and I'm not sure if you've had him on a podcast previously, but he talks about brand development. How do you actually build a great brand through story? And there's a quote I've got here from Donald where he says, "The customer is the hero of our brand story, not us." Right? When we position our customer as the hero and ourselves as their guide, we will be recognized as a sought after character to help them along their journey. Right? And this is storytelling 101. So we think about, one of my favorite movies is The Lion King, right? And so, even though the story is about Simba and he's kind of the hero of the story, it's the wise monkey Rafiki who's the one that has an integral role in guiding Simba, when he gets lost and he's like, oh, my uncle just killed my father and all these sort of things. Sorry, spoiler alert. And then it's the wise old monkey, the sage monkey that guides him back and says, hey, you are the king, the true king, right? And he comes back and finds his way. And so that's who we are. If you picture that, we are, our role, as service providers is we are the Rafiki, right, of our client's experience. And when we do the case studies, we're positioning ourselves and the client in that way. The client is actually the hero, right? Because they're out there serving their mission, they're doing their amazing work, whatever it is that they're doing, and we're really just there to guide them along the way and help them get there. Yeah,
that's a really great way to put it.
Yeah,
yeah, I really like that. I think everybody can relate to the Lion King, So
100%. So with let's go through the framework. Essentially, as a copywriter, I'm sure this will resonate. And for those who aren't copywriters, you're basically getting a lesson in how copywriting works here. We start with the first P, which is a punchy headline, right? And here we start the story off with an attention-grabbing headline, and typically we want, in the world of business, we want that to have a metric-driven result. And what I mean by that is, I've worked with wellness coaches, I've worked with certain other industries where their testimonials and case studies tend to be vague in terms of, the headline might be, the client had an amazing experience, but that doesn't really tell me what happened, right? Did he become the king? Like, did that actually happen? Like, what was the end result of the story? And so you want to, if you, as much as possible, get into the data and then say, okay, well, they generated, a 10% increase in profit, or they saved 10 hours a week, or whatever it was. Maybe they actually took 4 weeks of holiday off for the first time in 3 years, right? And that was a win. Okay, so let's get clear about what it is that your client achieved, and that gives us a punchy headline. And you want that because, like any good piece of copy, you want to grab someone's attention with that headline or that email subject or the title of the video, right? And if that's not clear enough or strong enough, they're not going to bother reading the rest of it or watching the video. Yeah. So punchy headline. Then we move into profile customer, the second P, and here's where we highlight our client, and we also, we're giving them their 5 seconds of fame, if you want to call it that, and we're talking about what they do, the industry that they're in, what amazing work they've done, maybe a win they've had recently, and also this is an opportunity for you to highlight the category that or the specific segment of business that they're in, right? Because for a lot of B2B providers, they might have, you might have one, or you might have more than one. You might have a type of client that you work with, so what we call segments. And so it's important here to focus your case study on one segment per case study. You don't want to have a case study that says, we support e-commerce and accountants and gym owners, and that's all in the one story, because that then confuses the reader, right? The reader's going, what? Like, so you want to say, okay, this was an e-commerce business that we supported, and this is what they do, right? So that's the profiling the customer. The third P is the problem statement. And here we get clear on the challenges that we're presenting for the client or the customer before they signed up with us. And this is where we're actually providing that context. And here's where I typically like to explain it. If you're looking at a personal trainer's Instagram account and you see the photos of the before and after in that one shot or in that one carousel, why do you think that they do that, right? Because you can actually see the transformation immediately. And you can say, oh, this person, became really buff in 3 months or 6 months or whatever the time period was, or they lost X number, they lost some weight or whatever the goal was. You can see it visually and you get compelled and you say, okay, I can see that whatever they're doing is working, right? In the case study, we don't have necessarily the before and after picture of the client in that way, but what we can do is show relevant data, or we can show, if you've got screenshots, like the SEO agency that I mentioned, we actually did a case study for them, and we actually said, oh, can you grab a screenshot of the Google Analytics account for the client, before the engagement and then after the engagement? What did that look like? And that's how they were able to present visually the before and after, right? And so this is where we state the context, the challenges, all these sort of things. That's the third P, problem statement. We move on to the fourth P, which is process. And here's where we share our steps. How do we actually solve? What's our methodology? What's our process? What's our system for solving these type of challenges that the client had? And this is where you're showing, really demonstrating that you're the expert. This is where you build credibility, because by revealing your framework, by revealing your methodology, the reader can see, oh, you actually have a repeatable system, right? And you have, that's how you're going to guide me through the experience, and that's what gives confidence for a prospective buyer. They feel like, oh, okay, you know what you're doing, all right? And I can see it right here. It's plain and clear. Now, a common question I get on this one is, but Anf, I don't want to give away the farm. I don't want to give away Colonel's secret sauce recipes, right? Like
I'm trying to get my hands on that for years. I hear you.
Yeah, you can YouTube it actually. But anyway, and so and I get that, and I'm not saying, I would encourage, yes, protect your IP. That's important. So you don't need to get into all the detail of how everything works. Just talk about on a high level what is your steps, right? What are your steps? And it's the same as if you were on a discovery call with somebody and you were explaining to them, and they say, well, how do you solve my problem, Alison or Jenny? How do we go from here to where we want to get to? And you walk them through, okay, here's what we're going to do from here, right? It's the same thing. You're just putting that now onto in a case study, right? But at a high level, you're not going to get into all it might take you 50 steps to get there behind the scenes, but you're not going to show all of that, right? So that's a process. The fifth P is payoff, and this is where we actually share what was the end result, and we're linking this back to the punchy headline at the beginning, right? But we're going to expand on that. So we're going to now get into the emotional benefits of the experience for the client, okay? And we don't just end with, oh, they were able to double their revenue in 24 months, right? Why does that even matter? Okay, and this is literally the question I asked to the client in the interview is, okay, you got that result. Why was that important to you? How did that impact your business, and how did that impact you on a personal level, right? And then you get some really good juicy stuff coming from the client. And so I had one client I did a case study for, well, the client's client, and it was so my client had helped them to automate their systems and bring on a VA and these sort of things. And I asked the interviewee, I said, that's amazing that you were able to do that in the last 12 months, and can you just tell me, like, how has that impacted you on a personal level? And she started, and she and looked straight down the camera and said, and before I went through this process, I would spend 4 hours every Saturday doing my bookkeeping. All right, and since we've been able to implement the VA, and she's taken over the bookkeeping from me, that's released me to actually be free on the weekend to spend time with my 3-year-old son. And she started crying, right?
Oh my! So that's going to be totally. People are going to really go crazy for that. Yeah.
Totally, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what it's about. And that's the
Mhm.
mission of the business, is to free people up so they can actually do what matters most.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, I took that and I went back to my client immediately after we finished the interview, and I said, mate, like, this is why you do what you do. And this is why, you know, like, keep doing it. Right. And we were all emotional, and that was so compelling. And you can see that's what it's about. It's not about necessarily, you know, the logical, yes, we saved 10 hours a week or whatever it was. That's
Yeah.
important.
It's super powerful to connect it to that emotion.
100%.
So what's number 6 and what's number 7? We're getting so close.
All right, we got in there. So it's number 6 is praise, and this is where we capture the client testimonial in their words. And the question that I ask is, you know, if you were hanging out at a cafe or at a bar right now with one of your buddies, how would you describe the experience, right? And so we want it in their words, and we want them to give it, you know, because you know when a copywriter has done the work, because typically, or an expert has written the testimonial or the case study, because it's filled with jargon, and you know, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, there's no way in hell like someone's going to say that to somebody, like who speaks like that, right? And so you want the praise in the client's words. The final P is to propose the next step, and this is where, you know, in the marketing world we call it the call to action. And the question we're answering here is, what's the next logical step for the prospective buyer or someone reading the case study? So they've read through this amazing, compelling story. They've seen it before. They've seen the transformation. They've seen the steps. They know what's going on, and they're feeling like, yes, we're that type of business. We want that kind of support too, right? What's next, right? So, okay, do I book a discovery call? Do I sign up for, you know, your training? What is it that comes next? And you conclude the case study with that next step, or the video, or whatever it is that you're doing. So quick recap: 7 P's. 1, punchy headline. 2, profile customer. 3, problem statement. 4, process, so detail the process. 5, payoff. 6, praise. And 7, propose your next step.